Hello there, people seeking knowledge. Today I am going to talk to you about something that I have been utilizing recently, unlisted live streams in YouTube. Now, I have a sort of bonus money, 0-hour contract kind of gig work job that I do sometimes, which is managing like Zoom calls for people who don't know how to use computers but do somehow have access to make decisions at multi-billion pound companies. So like, I can't tell you about anything to do with that, but I can tell you that normally it's meetings that they're handling, like just normal video calls that they want someone to handle. Everyone's in attendance and they can like just do breakout rooms without having to manage it themselves, and they can focus on the content of the meeting. But also there are times people do like live stream events and they need moderators, and I've like moderated and read out terms and conditions and stuff, and picked people who have raised their hands to answer questions. And I feel like YouTube unlisted live streams would be a much more efficient way of doing that than doing it in Zoom, for example. So this is one of the situations where you would use it. Basically, a live stream, I do them here all the time. It's when you have got someone talking to a camera with a microphone to a live audience, and they have them where you can live stream either via a computer, via something like OBS, or do it directly in the YouTube Studio app, and it just like has less flexibility on what your image looks like, or you can do it from your phone. You can do unlisted live streams from either option, but it's more commonly used on phones because people just see that button there more easily. And the idea is it will generate you a link which you can then send out to people who have either bought a certain product on your website, and then it sends out as the digital product link, or you can have it for people who are on a certain email list and you can send it out, or you can one-on-one just copy paste and send the link manually via anywhere else you would send a link, like an email, like a text, like an instant message on Facebook or something. And then that is how they would access the live stream. It doesn't come up to anyone in your subscriber feed, and this is separate to a members only live stream, where if someone has paid your YouTube channel membership, then they can see all the content that comes up and they can access it because they paid the membership, because in that case it would still turn up in their subscribers feed as a member. This is only for people who would access the link directly. Some examples of how you might use an unlisted live stream. The first one there, I've said, from having like a individual seminar where you are imparting wisdom to a client base, and people would be incentivized to get knowledge from you as an individual, or maybe it's like a private question and answer session about something that you're an expert in, or maybe some secret information that you have if you're some kind of info broker and you got like insider knowledge. Sort of like a private show for an internet-based audience, as opposed to getting them all together in a room. But also there is something that I have been doing recently, which is probably a bit more unique, which is I've kind of been using it as my own like CCTV system. It's a combination of things. So I have a second phone, not because I got a second phone, but because my old phone, I managed to stop it from being broken so long that it actually became obsolete with the OS, and I was kind of impressed at myself for that. It kept trying to update, and every single time I like rejected the update, it was like, oh no, you got to update, you got to do it. And then eventually it was basically like a bricked out phone, a fully functional, like non-smash screen. Everything worked, all the buttons worked, the touch screen worked, like I could charge it, I could do everything to it. But the UI was like, no, you must update. And then it just didn't. So I had a useless phone. So I had to get a new phone. Now I let my old phone just sit on like a random shelf for over a year while I didn't touch it. And then I did a massive big cleanup of my room, and I went, okay, I'm going to test it one last time, see if it'll actually update to like a current OS. And it didn't do that, but it just turned on like normal. Like it had accepted that it is no longer a phone that is in use, but it's not going to try and be something it's not anymore. It doesn't have a SIM card or anything. A SIM card? It doesn't have a SIM card, but as long as it's connected to the internet, it's a fully functional phone. So the only thing I can't do on it is text and call. I can like hotspot from my actual phone if I took it out and about with me, and then it would basically be connected to the internet like that. Or I tend to just keep it at home so I can use it on the Wi-Fi. But something I've been using it for is like I have like an extra channel that I made as an experiment. I'll leave a link in the description and stuff, but like it's real niche. So it's like basically ASMR pretty views out my window, the sort of people who look at live cams out in cities. And I live in the city centre, I live in Manchester, so I like stick it out my window, and they're doing construction right now. And I don't know if you saw in the news in Manchester, there was a building that like it was being demolished anyway, but it collapsed like preemptively, and they had to evacuate buildings around, so it collapsed in the River Irwell and stuff. And when I first saw the news headline, I was like, oh my god, if that was the building across from my house while I wasn't there because I was at my friend's game night, imagine if it collapsed and I hadn't left the live stream running, because I've been running it pretty consistently like recently. And that was like really stressful. It wasn't in the end. But what I do is I take my second old phone, and then I turn on YouTube, and then I live stream privately. I have a really old YouTube channel that I don't use anymore, but it's actually got the most subscribers. In order to live stream from YouTube. You have to have at least 50 subscribers. And the idea of this new channel is it's like just long views over a long time. And I would like it to be live, but because you can't live stream from a channel that is less than 50 subscribers, I have been live streaming privately to my old channel, which has actually more subscribers than this channel. It's like 256 or something, and it has for years, and I've not uploaded in there for years. So I'm live streaming privately, so I have it in the back end of my other YouTube channel, so I can then download it from YouTube Studio and then upload it as fresh content to this ambient views live channel I have. So that's like a really niche use case, but basically if you want to use it as like a storage center, like cloud storage for video content, that like you don't even know if you're going to use it or not, like you just leave it running, then it basically will go until the device dies, which like streaming makes it use more power than it can take in by charging, but the charging will give it like an extra like 6 hours or something, not 6 hours, like an extra 2 or 3 hours out of like what is it normally a 6-hour run on YouTube. So if you are live streaming on YouTube, it will automatically archive the footage and save it, unlike Twitch where you have to like ask that it save it, and it will only save it for a certain amount of time in order to give you opportunity to back it up and get clips and stuff. On YouTube, if you're live streaming, anything under 12 hours is automatically archived. If it's longer than 12 hours, then you have to like consciously like stop the stream or download it and record it externally while you're going, because like on OBS, for example, you can live stream and record to your device simultaneously. Like I do that sometimes. But if you're not doing that, then this gives you a way of storing the camera feed automatically by putting it as a live on YouTube. If you don't want that information to be publicly available, but still archived and saved on YouTube to be accessible to other people, then doing an unlisted live stream is an option, because like once the live stream ends, it's still going to be available as an archive video, which will still be unlisted. Like an unlisted live stream, when it stops being live, is transformed into a private video. So even people who used to have the link to the live stream can no longer access it after the fact. You would have to then change the privacy back to unlisted, so people who were given the link for real-time viewership can't access it unless you allow them to access it later. Or you could turn it public later. If you do the Q&A session use case, then only people who have the unlisted link, like maybe members, maybe you have an exclusive membership on your Discord channel or something, and you post the link in your Discord channel so they can access it instead of you doing a YouTube membership, and then they can access it to ask you questions in real time, but then anyone can watch back later when it's a video. They just can't contribute to the live discussion. I feel like this is a little bit higgledy-piggledy. You can also use this as a bit of a spy cam option, to be honest. If you want to just like leave it running, like I say, I use it for CCTV, so like I left it running while I was at the house one time just to like see if anyone tried to access the property while I wasn't there. And instead of having a Ring doorbell, then you can just set a camera up while you're out the house, leave it running, and then if you log onto YouTube on your phone while you're out and about, you can see the live feed and see if anyone is where the camera is. And then that's not publicly available, because why would you want it to be publicly available? Because it's your house and you don't want people to look inside your house while you're away. But instead of a Ring doorbell, you can use YouTube unlisted live streams. So there's a few different options. I know that most of them are quite unusual, but with tools like this, I feel like people aren't nearly as creative as they could be with the systems available to them. So it's a way of working around the resources that you may or may not have. Like, until I had a second phone, I wouldn't have a way of having a Ring doorbell, but now I do, especially because I can't actually mount a doorbell at my door because I live in flats. So if anyone has any questions, or if you found that useful, please let me know. If there's any tutorials you want me to do in the future for anything sort of video techie marketing wise, then please do put that in the comments down below as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out all my other social media, check out my random ASMR views channel if you fancy it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.